call for loving call. Every word in anger, every single tear, every hurtful action, the message is clear. Everything is a call for love, a call for loving call. Everything is a call for love, a call for loving call. Every word in anger, every single tear, every hurtful action, the message is clear. Everything is a call for love.
Oh, golly. I think those are such powerful words to remember when we're studying compassion this month. And wow, those are powerful words, huh, David? So if we could remember that, boy, everyone would be healed, right? Wow. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
That just hit me. I love compassion. I love studying it, and I need it this month. Thank you, CSL. Thank you, David, for your beautiful partners. We don't get that enough, do we? Thank you so much for beautiful, beautiful music. That's okay. I think it's time to just settle in here. I'm ready to settle in. Are you? Just invite you to breathe with me now, a mindful breath. As we relax into this beautiful day, as we bring ourselves into alignment with that divine presence within us, and into alignment with each other as CSL, as we speak our mission statement here this morning. We recognize and realize the omnipresence of divine love as the truth of all.
And in the silence, I invite you to drop deeper into that space of your heart and join with me in that essence of the one spirit, the one life, that life that is perfect, whole, complete, eternal, immortal, that life that is all wisdom, all goodness, all intelligence, the creation of all. And that is my life, your life, right now. And as we join together in this one life, this one presence, I accept for each of us all the goodness and all the aliveness that this life brings, the vitality, the abundance, the goodness, the creativity, the health, the happiness, the peace, all good things. For we are that living expression, each unique in the one presence. And I affirm that this abundance of goodness is always available to each of us. That as divine beings, we are the image and likeness of God. And this goodness expresses in every situation in our life. That we expect and accept that good, that we see as Spirit sees in each situation, that we see each person with the eyes of kindness, with the eyes of compassion, with the eyes of peace and joy, that we see each person as an extension and a unique creation of the one, as a part of the totality of creation. I declare that it is our belief in who we are as divine incarnations that goes forth, increasing and fulfilling a greater life for each of us and for each person on the planet, that we live with purpose and a fulfilling future. And we are that which we are looking for. And so I turn my attention to the request of the prayer chest. And I know that in each situation, in each desire, each request, that Spirit, that divine life is right there in the midst. Healing, being present and expressing and bringing about the highest good in each situation. That each challenge and each discomfort is bathed in that divine light, and the fullness of Spirit is revealed in clarity, in right action, and that which needs to be is. And the highest good for all is coming into fruition. For the best of life is right there, coming into fruition. So I bless today the volunteers, the staff, the music, everyone here. For this is an occasion to express and to come closer to that divine essence that we truly are. As I recognize the face of God in each one here today, I know that we are each being uplifted to a greater awareness and consciousness. And I know that the food that we are about to partake is nourishing, both physically and for our consciousness of the goodness of God. So grateful for today. I just am so thankful that this is Truly a blessed day as I release this word into the law, knowing that it is full of love. It does not come back void. As we join together and declare, and so it is. Good morning.
Good morning.
If for some reason this isn't the best of mornings for you and there's something on your mind that's sort of blocking your innate goodness in your expression, please leave your concerns, your worries in the prayer box just down the stairs and to the left. And the practitioner will do affirmative prayer on your behalf this week, and hopefully your life will change. It will. You've heard this quote before, I'm sure, from the Dalai Lama. Our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. And from Ernest Holmes, compassion and caring are the ties that bind us together in mutual understanding and in the unified attempt to uncover the divinity in each other.
Thank you so much, Lou. So here we are in September studying abundant compassion. And so on Wednesday night, it was film and discussion, this last Wednesday night, and we show a film that is in alignment with the theme for the month, and so it was compassion. And one of the ones that we watched was a Ram Dass video. Actually, it was Ram Dass talking and this cool cartoonist cartooning at the same time. And the name of it was titled, How to Keep Your Heart Open in Hell. And, you know, it was pretty deep knowing Ram Dass, and we had a great conversation about it afterwards. In that video, he shared the dilemma of closing our hearts to suffering because it's so unbearable on the human level. Has anybody experienced that? An unbearableness of suffering on our human hearts when we see things happening in the world, or things when we think about wars and famine and all kinds of things happening. So on the human level, it appears to be unbearable to our hearts, and often we end up closing our hearts to protect ourselves. And he says the way to stay open-hearted is to, at the same time, remember our spiritual truth. So remembering the spiritual and coming into the humanness of it, bringing that spiritual truth with us. The spiritual truth, sometimes called the Tao, or the law of God, or many other things, and that truth is that all is perfect in the one infinite intelligence, which can seem to rub up against what we see, right? Spiritually, all is perfect, and yet we see all of these things going on that don't seem so perfect to us. So being able to hold those two things at the same time, keeping this perspective, allows us to feel with others, as Brene Brown says, feel with others who are suffering without getting lost in our own suffering. That is what he says compassion is. True compassion, he says, is seeing from both our humanness and our spiritualness at the same time. Always seeing the one behind the two. We had to talk about that as well. Always seeing the one, the perfection, behind the two, the duality and the separateness or the suffering. He says, step back from your humanity to see all is unfolding perfectly in the universe. And then step back into your humanity to feel with the person who cannot yet see this truth for himself in this situation. This connection with an open heart helps to relieve the suffering, not just in the other person, but within the whole world, ourselves and everyone. So today I want to share some words of Thich Nhat Hanh. Familiar with Thich Nhat Hanh? Yeah, he's pretty well known at this point. I'd like to share these as a way to bring more mindfulness to the need for compassion in the world. He is a world-renowned Zen master, and I'll be sharing 3 passages from his book, Peace is Every Step. And then woven into these readings will be songs that David put together using the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, and he put the music together with that. So we'll interweave those with these words. And I just hope you enjoy this man's lovely wisdom on compassion this morning. So we're going to just sit back and relax and take all of this in and just let it absorb into yourself. It'll be a quiet morning of wise words, okay? We're going to start with an acknowledgement of the spiritual universe, in which we all have our true being. The truth of us is in that spiritual universe, already whole, perfect, and complete in the one that we call God. So let's start there.
I have arrived
My first reading is Meditation on Compassion. Love is a mind that brings peace, joy, and happiness to another person. Compassion is a mind that removes the suffering that is present in the other. We all have the seeds of love and compassion in our minds, and we can develop these fine and wonderful sources of energy. We can nurture the unconditional love that does not expect anything in return and therefore does not lead to anxiety and sorrow. The essence of love and compassion is understanding, the ability to recognize the physical, material, and psychological suffering of others, to put ourselves inside the skin of the other. We go inside their body, feelings, and mental formations, and witness for ourselves their suffering. Shallow observation as an outsider is not enough to see their suffering. We must become one with the object of our observation. When we are in contact with another's suffering, a feeling of compassion is born in us. Compassion means literally to suffer with. We begin by choosing as the object of our meditation someone who is undergoing physical or material suffering, someone who is weak and easily ill, or poor or oppressed, or has no protection. This kind of suffering is easy for us to see. After that, we can practice being in contact with more subtle forms of suffering. Sometimes the other person does not seem to be suffering at all, but we may notice that he has sorrows which have left their marks in hidden ways. People with more than enough material comforts also suffer. We look deeply at the person who is the object of our meditation on compassion, both during sitting meditation and when we are actually in contact with them. We must allow enough time to be really in deep contact with his suffering. We continue to observe him until compassion arises and penetrates our being. When we observe deeply in this way, the fruit of our meditation will naturally transform into some kind of action. We will not just say, "I love him very much," but instead, "I will do something so that he will suffer less." The mind of compassion is truly present when it is effective in removing another person's suffering. We have to find ways to nourish and express our compassion. When we come into contact with the other person, our thoughts and actions should express our mind of compassion, even if that person says and does things that are not easy to accept. We practice in this way until we see clearly that our love is not contingent upon the other person being lovable. Then we can know that our mind of compassion is firm and authentic. We ourselves will be more at ease, and the person who has been the object of our meditation will also benefit eventually. His suffering will slowly diminish, and his life will gradually be brighter and more joyful as a result of our compassion. We can also meditate on the suffering of those who cause us to suffer. Anyone who has made us suffer is undoubtedly suffering too. We only need to follow our breathing and look deeply, and naturally we will see his suffering. A part of his difficulties and sorrows may have been brought about by his parents' lack of skill when he was still young. But his parents themselves may have been victims of their parents. The suffering has been transmitted from generation to generation and been reborn in him. If we see that, we will no longer blame him for making us suffer, because we know that he is also a victim. To look deeply is to understand. Once we understand the reasons he has acted badly, our bitterness towards him will vanish, and we will long for him to suffer less. We will feel cool and light, and we can smile. We do not need the other person to be present in order to bring about reconciliation. When we look deeply, we become reconciled with ourselves, and for us, the problem no longer exists. Sooner or later, he will see our attitude and will share in the freshness of the stream of love which is flowing naturally from our heart. This next passage is called Reconciliation. What can we do when we have hurt people and now they consider us to be their enemy? These people might be people in our family, in our community, or in another country. I think you know the answer. There are a few things to do. The first thing is to take the time to say, I'm sorry. I hurt you out of my ignorance, out of my lack of mindfulness, out of my lack of skillfulness. I will try my best to change myself. I don't dare say another thing more to you. Sometimes we do not have the intention to hurt, but because we are not mindful or skillful enough, we have hurt someone. Being mindful in our daily life is important, speaking in a way that will not hurt anyone. The second thing to do is to try to bring out the best part in ourselves, the part of the flower, to transform ourselves. That is the only way to demonstrate what you have just said. When you have become fresh and pleasant, the other person will notice very soon. Then, when there is a chance to approach that person, you can come to her as a flower, and she will notice immediately that you are quite different. You may not have to say anything. Just seeing you like that, she will accept you and forgive you. That is called speaking with your life and not just with words. When you begin to see that your enemy is suffering, that is the beginning of insight. When you see in yourself the wish that the other person stops suffering, that is the sign of real love. But be careful. Sometimes you may think that you are stronger than you actually are. To test your real strength, try going to the other person to listen and talk to him or her, and you will discover right away whether your loving compassion is real. You need the other person in order to test. If you just meditate on some abstract principle such as understanding or love, it may be just your imagination and not real understanding or love. Reconciliation does not mean to sign an agreement with duplicity or cruelty. Reconciliation opposes all forms of ambition without taking sides. Most of us want to take sides in each encounter or conflict. We distinguish right from wrong based on partial evidence or hearsay. We need indignation in order to act. But even righteous, legitimate indignation is not enough. Our world does not lack people willing to throw themselves into action. What we need are people who are capable of loving, of not taking sides, so that they can embrace the whole of reality. We have to continue to practice mindfulness and reconciliation until we can see a child's body of skin and bones in Uganda or Ethiopia as our own. Until the hunger and pain in the bodies of all species are our own. Then we will have realized non-discrimination, real love. Then we can look at all beings with the eyes of compassion, and we can do the real work to help alleviate suffering.
Precious a flower, solid as a mountain, free as space, clear as water. Precious a flower, solid as a mountain, free as space, clear as water. Precious a flower, solid as a mountain, free as space, clear as water. Precious a flower, solid as a mountain, free as space, clear as water. Precious a flower, solid as a mountain, free as space, clear as water. Precious a flower, solid as a mountain, free as space, clear as water.
My last reading, entering the 21st century. The word policy is very much in use these days. There seems to be a policy for just about everything. I have heard that the so-called developed nations are contemplating a garbage policy to send their trash on huge barges to the third world. I think that we need a policy for dealing with our suffering. We do not want to condone it, but we need to find a way to make use of our suffering for our good and for the good of others. There has been so much suffering in the 20th century. 2 world wars, concentration camps in Europe, the killing fields of Cambodia, refugees from Vietnam, Central America, and elsewhere fleeing their countries with no place to land. We need to articulate a policy for these kinds of garbage also. We need to use the suffering of the 20th century as compost so that together we can create flowers for the 21st century. When we see photographs and programs about the atrocities of the Nazis, the gas chambers in the camps, we feel afraid. We may say, I didn't do it, they did it. But if we had been there, we may have done the same thing, or we may have been too cowardly to stop it, as was the case for so many. We have to put all these things into our compost pile to fertilize the ground. In Germany today, the young people have a kind of complex that they are somehow responsible for the suffering. It is important that these young people and the generation responsible for that war begin anew and together create a path of mindfulness so that our children in the next century can avoid repeating the same mistakes. The flower of tolerance to see and appreciate cultural diversity is one flower we can cultivate for the children of the 21st century. Another flower is the truth of suffering. There has been so much unnecessary suffering in our century. If we are willing to work together and learn together, we can all benefit from the mistakes of our time. And seeing with the eyes of compassion and understanding, we can offer the next century a beautiful garden and a clear path. Take the hand of your child and invite her to go out and sit with you on the grass. The two of you may want to contemplate the green grass, the little flowers that grow among the grasses, and the sky, breathing and smiling together. That is peace education. If we know how to appreciate these beautiful things, we will not have to search for anything else. Peace is available in every moment, in every breath, in every step.
On this path I walk in peace, with each step a gentle wind blows, with each step a flower blooms. Peace is every step. Peace is every step. It turns the endless path to joy. Peace is every step. Walking on earth is a miracle. Each mindful step reveals calm at ease, entirely free. Peace is every step. Peace is every step. It turns the endless path to joy. Peace is every step. On this path I walk in peace. With each step a gentle wind blows. With each step a flower blooms. Peace is every step. Peace is every step. It turns the endless path to joy. Peace is every step. Walking on earth is a miracle. Each mindful step reveals calm at ease, entirely free. Peace is every step. Peace is every step. It turns the endless path to joy. Peace is every step.
All right. That concludes our words of Thich, Nhat, Hanh. So powerful and so beautiful and so beautifully written. And what a lot of beauty that man has brought to this world. So thank you, Thich, Nhat, Hanh. And I'm not going to leave you in that space. I'm going to bring you up just a little because I have a little more Renee Brown that I need to share. So I'm going to finish up with just a short video from Renee Brown on empathy and sympathy. And I want you just to remember, we watched, last week we studied some of Renee Brown's work. And I want to remind you that she says, compassion is a deeply held belief that we are connected to each other in a way that is impossible to separate by something deeply rooted in love. She talks about that connection. So in this little short video, she says, empathy is the skill set to bring compassion alive. And I thought this was really clever, the difference between empathy and sympathy. So enjoy this.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
God, you are every mountain. God, you are every ocean. God, you are every canyon, every inch of earth and sky. God, you are every morning. God, you are every midnight. God, you are every moment, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. God, you are every sunrise. God, you are every moon glow. God, you are every star shine, every inch of earth and sky. God, you are every springtime. God, you are every snowfall. God, you are every season, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. 'Cause you are the very breath I breathe. And your perfect love created me. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you.
the ushers come forth, this is our time to consciously participate in the law of circulation, that divine law that just totally inundates the universe. So if you'll take your gift in your hand, and knowing that we each are the hands of God, that we have gratefully received, we gratefully give, knowing that in this circulation, our lives are improved, our community is improved, and we are definitely a part of the one. And our affirmation, I generously give and I generously receive.
I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice, spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the hearts, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. We are blessings to the world. We are blessings to the world.
And these blessings are gratefully received as they go forth, blessing our community, our world, our universe, and ourselves. And so it is.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we're ready to claim our good. So claiming our good together are affirmations about compassion, and we will say those together here all the way down. Here we go. Compassion naturally flows from the heart of my inner being. I am committed to helping build a better world for everyone, including myself. I bring higher energy into the world through my acts of compassion and kindness. It's okay to make mistakes and forgive myself, and so it is.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Thank you.